The meeting of the Committee on
Recording in
Student
progress.
Achievement and School Innovation of the Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Director Ferguson,
Present.
Director Fonz,
Present.
Director Herndon,
Present.
Director Vinoy,
Present.
and Chair Seamson.
Present.
We have a quorum.
The Chair will now ask the Secretary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The Chair invites any members of the audience who wish to participate to do so and asks that those who do not wish to participate please remain silent during the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being conducted from the Central Services Building. This meeting is also being broadcast on the MPS YouTube stream, the link to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos a la Junta Escolar de las Escuelas Públicas de Milwaukee. Si deseas escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor llame el 312-626-6799. Otra vez, 312-626-6799. Introduzca el número de reunión 608-130-5362. Nuevamente, el número de reunión es 608-130-5362. Gracias.
Thank you. For each of our items of business, we will hold a discussion and public hearing. If you wish to speak, please fill out a speaker's slip and bring it to our secretary, Dr. Owen Moore. Virtual speakers are asked to remain on the platform until you are called upon. After speaking, virtual speakers may follow the rest of the meeting using the broadcast information previously mentioned. For the sake of fairness tonight and to give everyone a chance to speak, the chair reserves the right to limit the length of time allowed to any one speaker. And now, given that our focus this year is literacy, we have some help with our messages from one of our youngest readers. Jameson is a first grader at Fernwood Montessori School.
Welcome to tonight's committee meeting. The committee will accept public comments on tonight's agenda items. Speakers may only address the item for which they have registered. Questions from the public may not be answered during the public comment period. Following public comment, the committee will begin its discussion and no additional comments will be accepted. When you are called upon to speak, please state your name and spell your last name for the record. Like this, Tamika Jones, Jones. Written testimony will also be accepted for transmittal to the board. Send this testimony to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53201-2181, or fax to 414-475-8071. Or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Just as a reminder, Robert's Rules of Order dictates that all comments, questions, or requests should be directed to the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. Also, no one other than the members of the board, designated staff, and those who have been invited to participate in items of business will be allowed on stage before, during, or after the meetings of the board and its committees. Finally, for our listening audience. If you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting the meetings, agendas, and minutes page of the MPS website.
Thank you, Jameson. If you have a child that would like to read for the board meeting, send an email message to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Thank you so much. And now, Madam Secretary, let's begin. What is item number 1?
Madam Chair, item 1 is report with possible action on student restraint and seclusion. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, Brenda Caselli as superintendent. In accordance with Wisconsin state law, our district is required to report on the use of seclusion and physical restraint with students. These practices are only allowed under very specific conditions that must be followed by thorough documentation, staff training, and parent notification. Additional steps are required when students with disabilities are involved, including follow-up meetings and possible IEP reviews. To stay in compliance, our district has trained staff across the district and improved how incidents are tracked using the Infinite Campus system. Looking at our data from the past 2 school years, there's been a noticeable decrease in the use of seclusion. In the 2023-24 school year, we had 47 incidents involving 34 students, 22 of whom were students with disabilities. In 2024 to 2025, that dropped to 30 incidents of seclusion involving 28 students, including 18 students with disabilities. This shows a 36 percentage point drop in incidents and 17 percentage drop in students involved and an 18% drop in students with disabilities. Physical restraint numbers remain the same in terms of incidents at 345 in both years, but fewer students were involved this year. 199 compared to 230 last year, a 13% decrease, and 118 students with disabilities compared to 133, at 11% decrease. A detailed chart outlining this information by school is attached to this item. Thank you. I'm joined by Mr. Boswell to assist with any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public speakers on this item?
We do not.
Thank you. Do members of the committee wish to make comments or ask questions at this time? I see. No? Okay. All right. Thank you for that information and update. And so that was just an informational item. We're ready for item number 2. Madam Secretary?
Madam Chair, item 2 is update on the district's long-range library services plan. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, Brenda Caselli as superintendent. This evening, I'm joined by Jennifer Mims Howell to update you on the long-range plan for library services. Following the sharing of this information, we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Good evening, Director Simpson, members of the committee. I am Jennifer Mims Howell, Chief Academic Officer. Tonight, I will give you updates on the library plan for our district. These priorities are for our district to ensure that our libraries become an equitable place where learning happens and our students grow. Tonight, I will talk about the highlights that the team has developed to make each library a fun learning environment where students have direct access to the books they need, as well as the support for their achievement and our district priorities. In MPS, we have aligned our plan to the Wisconsin state requirements for the library program. This means that we are ensuring that our district will maintain in compliance while also advancing best practices and support from our librarians. Our work is guided by the Future Readiness Library Framework, which highlights that the role of the librarian is to advance student-centered learning. One of our goals is to look at what the students need as it relates to the essential skills of digital citizenship, looking at informational technology. We will measure our students' growth by looking at the pre- and post-tests. The librarians, alongside the teachers, will integrate skills into the grade level curriculum. Together, the students will use technology responsibly, as well as elevate the use of resources and build strong research habits. Finally, while we use our common school funds, we will ensure that every student in Milwaukee Public Schools has equal access to the library and its resources, the services it provides, as well as the space. The target for the 2025-26 school year is that 70% of our students across this district have equitable access to using the school librarian. This aligns directly to the district's commitment to equity, inclusion of all students, and our students' achievement. In closing, Milwaukee Public Schools plans to design a strong use of their libraries by using the digital literacy skills, ensuring that equitable access is given to all students, and we will maximize the use of our common school library funds, ensuring and aligning with the state expectations that all students have access. We will continue to follow the national best practices, and this plan positions the libraries in Milwaukee Public Schools to become powerful centers for learning, growth, and an opportunity for all students. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Madam Secretary, do we have any members of the public who wish to make comments on this item?
We do not.
All right, back to committee for comments or questions. Yep, Director Benoit.
Hi. I'm curious, how many librarians do we have in the district?
Administration?
Chair Simpson, Director Vanoy, members of the committee, I will make sure I get that accurate number for you at this time.
Okay.
We have librarians, and we also have our, excuse me, our librarian paraprofessionals that support in libraries as well. So I'll get that breakdown for you.
Do we think there's one in every school?
There is
don't
a
know.
library in every school.
Library?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I
yes.
appreciate that.
Thank you. So if that could be sent to all members of the board, the number of librarians in our schools, would you also like to know, like, how many schools maybe don't have
Correct. Yeah.
support at this time?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other members for follow-up? Yeah, Director Herndon.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. That my question was very, very similar to Director Vanoy's, because I was part of the group or the board members that worked extremely hard to get libraries into each and every school. And if this issue were following the format that we put together at that particular time, which was 2020, 2021, as part of the referendum funding, we should expect a report that identifies each and every school and whether there's a capable librarian in place that would be comparable to the reports that we currently have provided to the board, and twice a year for the Art, Music, Phi-Ed. Librarians is supposed to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Herndon. So we'll work with Office of Board Governance to make sure that that gets on the calendar, because I know that you are correct, Director Herndon. We are supposed to be getting updates on all of that. So thank you so much. Just making a quick note. Any other comments or questions from members of the board or administration? Okay. I guess I just have a quick one myself, just with the long-range plan. Maybe when we come back with that information about the librarians in a report, maybe part of that could just be a few more specifics about how we're envisioning that, like the pacing, I guess, of rolling that out, maybe, how long that might take, or unless administration has a comment now.
Well, Director Simpson, I think, when I was superintendent in Boston, one of the things that we did was put forward a quality guarantee, which was a basic level of services in every school that you were guaranteed, regardless of zip code or where your school was. I think that in my listening sessions, people are really excited about the opportunity to have something defined like that for us here. And so I think, libraries is something that we absolutely should have. And, in Boston, we had a 5-year plan to have a library in every single school and a licensed librarian in every single school. But of course, these are all trade-offs. If we are to do it, then that means that there's something else that we're going to do less of or not do at all. And so as we approach the budget and we approach looking at what is that, basic level of services that we think every child should have across the system, whether it's co-curricular activities, extracurricular activities, whether it's arts programs or libraries, or social workers or counselors. We need to define that as a body and with our community, and then from there work backwards. And then everything after you've done and given to the schools everything that they need for class size and for the extra supports that we think they need in the facilities, then that's when you add back the central office services supports to the rest of the schools, because we are in service to the schools. And so I hope that libraries will bubble to the top in the future, because I have a strong value for them and think that they are the hubs of learning and the hubs of community for our schools.
Thank you so much. I look forward to those conversations in our budget discussions. Do committee members have any other comments or questions? All right, I see none. So thank you for that update. And moving on to item number 3, please.
Madam Chair, item 3 is follow-up on report with possible action on the MPS FY26 academic plan. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would administration please present this item?
Chair Simpson and members of the committee, Brenda Caselli is superintendent. As you recall, we presented the MPS FY26 academic plan at the August board meeting. We're very excited about it. And since that time, you've had the opportunity to review the plan a little bit more in detail, and we anticipate that you have more questions or areas that you might like to discuss further. So this evening, I'm joined by Jennifer Mims-Howell and Gabby Belli-Menace to help respond to any questions that you had lingering from when we presented it before, and just spend a little bit more time with the board to think about if you've heard from constituents or other matters. I'm happy to provide any additional context or clarification that you need regarding our pacing or phasing in of the program and how it might align to Act 20 and funding of our literacy program moving forward. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
I have Dr. Gabby Belli-Menace here, and also Jennifer Mims-Howell, Chief Academic Officer.
Thank you so much. We do have some speaker slips and a virtual speaker, so maybe we'll do that first, then come back to our discussion. So the virtual first.
Virtually, we have Jay Bullock. Jay, are you on the line?
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Excellent. Chair Simpson, members of the board, members of the administration, as most of you know, over 70 of my high school ELA colleagues and I did submit a written comment asking the board and the administration to keep high schools in mind for literacy this year. All students will read, and all means all, and that must include grades 9 through 12. And this is very important to us as high school ELA teachers because there is no current adoption of curriculum for grades 11 and 12. The last time this happened was more than 15 years ago. The books are almost 20 years old. We are perhaps potentially on the verge of losing our curriculum adoption for grades 9 and 10 because there's some stuff going on with the contract. I'm not privy to all of the negotiations, but I know that it was limited last year, and now some of what we were able to do last year is also gone, and we have so much other out-of-date material. I know that there are many capable people at Central Services who are working on literacy for grades 9 through 12, including redoing some instructional guides. But my big worry is that we're going to have instructional guides going into 26-27 with no textbook adoption to use them with. So it is our hope, it is our ask that the district undertake an official textbook and curriculum adoption for grades 9 through 12 so that we can have something that is current and something that teachers can use with these course plans and curriculum guides that are being developed. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We'll circle back to that. We also have a speaker slip from the audience. Could I please have Elizabeth Kosmak come up?
Hi, good evening. Elizabeth Kosmak, Kosmach. Good evening. When going on a road trip, you have to make a plan. The road trip to literacy is important to MPS and teachers. Unfortunately, there has been no plan, and classroom teachers need a plan. When you click on the link, it says under construction. Right now, classroom teachers know you have 90 minutes of literacy, 60 minutes of word recognition. But what else? Did you know our universal screener is different nowadays? We are no longer using the STAR, we're using iReady. iReady is a test that takes over 90 minutes, even if you take it in multiple days. I have 17 students who need small group. 17 times 90 is 1,530 minutes. Times that by 2, that's 3,060 minutes I'm not servicing my students because they have to take another test. Then you do it 3 times a year, that's 9,180 minutes I'm not servicing my students. Then we are doing iReady plus AIMS, because that's state and we have to do it, but that's an additional 420 minutes for my 7 second graders and third graders. We are testing our students too much. I understand the state wants to see our improvement, but this testing is too much for our kids. We want them to enjoy school. We want them to come to school. But if it's constant testing, who would want to come? It's not okay. And where was teacher input that we're changing the universal screener? There was none. I didn't know until I was told I had to take a PD on iReady. iReady was for tier 2 intervention, but obviously it's not working if our intervention's not working. So why are we now doing iReady reading universal screener? Is it because we have iReady math? That's not a good reason. Cheaper is not a good reason. The STAR only took 204 minutes. Do better. Bring the teachers in. Come talk to us. We want our students to succeed. We are tired of testing them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to bring it back to committee. But I did want to just give, before we go to committee, maybe just to get a little more meat for us to chew on. I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about how the MGT instructional audit relates to our academic plan. So if we could maybe highlight a little bit of that first, that will give maybe the committee a little more details and information for conversation.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and members of the board. I am Gabriela Bel Jimenez, Academic Superintendent for Literacy. Thank you for the opportunity of engaging in this important conversation. We did put together a couple slides in case that the question would come up. Give us just 1 second. Well, let us start the conversation by saying that the audit was a fundamental piece, we would say almost the genesis of the planning for the academic plan. So we took into consideration the 4 levers and the domains that are named within the academic audit to be, is it closer? Thank you. We took into consideration the 4 levers, and I'm going to name them. The first lever within the academic audit was visionary and student-centered leadership. And within that, we have, there it is, perfect. Then we have specific domains. We have the second lever, that is ambitious instruction and learning. We spoke a little bit about this last time that we were together. culture of support and high expectations, and of course, authentic partnership with family and communities. So what we have put together for you today is a little bit of a walkthrough of how is it that those levers and domains are actually part of the academic plan and some evidence of them within the academic plan. So for clear vision and goals, I want to remind us that the academic plan centers around a framework that we call the AIM framework. A for align, align to standards, align to high quality instructional materials, implement using the high quality instructional materials through daily instruction, and then measure and adjust. So this first clear vision and goals is really evident in the plan through the arc of the framework. Then instructional evidence is truly, there is another of the domains, is truly evident in our call of action to ensure that we're going back to tier 1 instruction, right? So instructional excellence allows us to reimagine every single student first and foremost as a tier 1 student. So I don't know if you remember, we had the conversation from RTI to MTSS and ensuring that tier 1 instruction was something that was accessible for all of our kiddos. And of course, for students to be able to benefit from a clear vision and instructional evidence, we must have high functioning teams of adults. So through the leadership of Dr. Caselius, of Chief Mims Howell, we have been prioritizing PLCs as a way for us to come together as adults in order to be able to serve students. So the first lever, in essence, is served through those ideas. Then the second lever is connected to ambitious instruction and learning. So once again, this idea that is very, very important for us to think about instructional preparation and support. When we were last here in the full board meeting, we spoke about how you're going to be hearing from us in the upcoming sessions and months about how important it is that we acquire and train and implement on some important supplemental resources. We did really well by adopting core instructional resources at the time that we did. But the legislation came after that, which now provides an opportunity for us to enhance access to those resources. Of course, if we are going to make an investment of time and talent for instructional preparation and support, then we want to ensure that we have a really robust assessment system. And want to be absolutely certain that we're engaging in administering universal screeners because they have predictive qualities. We don't want to wait until our kiddos have to engage in the summative assessment to find out how they're doing. The power of universal screeners is that they predict for future achievement. So we want to know how the kiddos are on the onset. We want to be able to have the data 3 times a year. And once we have the data and we know that there are some students that need additional support, we want to be absolutely certain that we are engaging in diagnostics. So then we can plan intelligently for targeted small group instruction at the same time that we're still delivering tier 1 instruction that is standards aligned. And of course, we want evidence of learning, right? So through the instructional guidance that we're providing this year, we are creating really clear and predictable opportunities where in elementary, for example, every 4 weeks, we are able to create a universal opportunity to see at evidence of a student learning in relationship to standards alignment. So lever 2 is also covered, in the academic plan, and the alignment comes strategically from the audit. Then the third lever is a culture of support and expectations. We know that culture is extraordinarily important to our ways to be able to ensure that our best intentions are being realized. So a culture of high expectations is important. Our ambitious instruction plan focuses explicitly on grade levels standard alignment on day-to-day instruction. We are thinking and we are planning from a from a place of understanding of whole child development. We are fostering academic excellence and really considering how is it the joy can be brought back into the classroom as a way to really accelerate learning for our students. And of course, we realize the safe and positive environments as are a must. So we have started the year with a very clear commitment to creating spaces, genuine spaces for staff to engage in developing routines, getting to know students, because we know that that is the foundation for all learning. Our children need to be able to feel very safe, and our staff too, of course. And then the fourth lever from the academic audit that is visible in the plan is this idea of a student-centered decision-making. We are currently planning on and being intentional about creating instructional opportunities for students to practice decision-making alongside the learning of literacy. There are great opportunities in engaging in powerful conversations. We're leveraging essential questions. We are fortunate to have a content and knowledge-building curriculum. That means that daily instruction over time is connected to an essential question that allows us to have something exciting to read about and to write about. And then decision-making conversations come from there. We also are completely committed to clear communication. Through the implementation of Act 20, there are very predictable ways in which families are hearing from us in relationship to the ways in which students are performing. And this then is an entry point for teachers and principals and the community at large to have a larger conversation about literacy. And of course, last but not least, this idea of community collaboration and family advocacy. Literacy is a big task, and it requires absolutely all hands on deck. The ways in which we are supporting, and we're fortunate enough to lever PLC structures and parent coordinators is fundamental to this work. So thank you for your question.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope that was helpful to the committee as we move forward with our conversations. So do members wish to ask some questions or make comments? Director Vanoy.
Hi. You mentioned the need for the universal screeners, and I just wanted to ask, or to second the question from the audience about the universal screeners. Can you explain to us why we do need AIMS and iReady, and why the switch from STAR to iReady?
Administration?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Anybody from administration?
Director Vanoy, members of the board, thank you for the question. Yes, within an assessment structure that allow us to be able to make instructional decisions that are nuance specific, we need different types of assessments. So think about it as having different types of measuring tools when you're cooking, right? Like you will not use the same measuring tool for all the things. The universal screeners are small probes that, when looked at together, increase our ability to be able to almost see into the future. We have right now, as part of Act 20 legislation, started on collecting this data at the state level. And this year, the Department of Public Instruction, based on feedback, last time we said that feedback is a gift, the Department of Public Instruction received feedback that we needed additional probes to ensure that the sensitivity measure within the universal screener was high enough that we were in fact looking at future outcomes for students. So the probes changed, which is a little bit of what we heard today. Having the universal screener is only the first step. Once we know that we have some students that need additional help, the universal screener is only like a traffic light, and it tells you, pay attention. But it doesn't tell you exactly what are the instructional moves that you need to have in order to be able to attend to the instruction. Bless you. Then the second thing that you need to do is to diagnose, right? Now we know that for these babies, we need to look. Now we need to diagnose. We need to take a closer look to be able to make sense of that. iReady is a powerful diagnostic tool, and it really helps us understand what are the strengths and what are the areas of need. Now, when we have A and B, we are able to then implement high-quality instructional materials implementation to Tier 1 instruction, and at the same time, we have the necessary data to group students in targeted small groups. It is a complex, teaching is complex. Learning how to read and write is difficult. And we, in a system this large, need really powerful tools to be able to make the most out of the instruction that we have.
Follow-up.
Yeah, just to follow up, do you know why the decision was made to move from STAR to iReady? Because STAR is also a diagnostic tool, is it not?
Administration?
Chair Vanoy. Sorry about that. Chair Simpson, Director Vanoy, members of the committee. I'm looking into that STAR piece. iReady for literacy was added because, as Dr. Jimenez said, we had to look at different things based on the differentiation we were doing for our students. We do have iReady for math, and so it was an agreement that that was a tool that would work good for the students in Milwaukee Public Schools because we were trying to assess a couple different things. The time depends on which probes are given depending on the assessments. And so based on the grade level, there are different times. We will look into it and see if we can get a description of how many times, how much time is for each probe. That might also help teachers as well.
Director Benoit, any other follow-up? Yeah, so maybe we could have some type of a future item just around assessments, just so we can kind of look a little bit more at that. Because, yeah, I would like to know if there are ways that, do we have to give a whole chunk? Are there ways to be more strategic in what we're pulling out to assess if there are these targeted probes? Just we could maybe have a little bit of a look at that assessment so we have a better understanding of it. And I don't know if I missed it, but why was iReady selected for reading over STAR?
Director Simpson, we'll be able to get you that information.
Okay.
I am looking at the district calendar, and then we do have a list of them. And so what I can do is I can make sure that you have the assessment, the subjects it looks at, and then the purpose of each assessment. I can make sure that's given to the board.
All right, and then maybe we can put that on our agenda to kind of follow up with some of that conversation about assessment. I know that's been out there for a long time. It's something that circles back to us often. So other questions and comments? Director Fons?
I'll just speak generally to the point. I'm not sure if the issue for most teachers and families and students is assessment. I think we kind of know where we're at, and we're not in a good place. And to do more assessment isn't really telling us much more than we already know. And I think we spend a lot of money on assessment also. And there are requirements from the state, right? We have these assessments that we have to take. But constantly assessing takes away from time when we're speaking directly to students. And when families, have, we got a test again. Sometimes people don't come to school when the test is going to be there. They're just like, okay, this isn't something that is useful for us. We know where students at, generally speaking. And by doing more assessment, I'm not sure if that necessarily is going to move the needle.
Administration.
Director Simpson and Director Fons, respectfully, a summative assessment is very different than formative assessment. And so, yes, we know where our students are. However, when you give formative assessments after instructional periods of time, longer periods of time, which is multiple weeks of instruction, and then you take a dip and you see where they are, you know how you have to reteach and what kind of new professional development is needed for teachers in order, especially since we're learning a whole new way to teach reading. We need to have more assessments to be able to understand the instructional quality of the delivery of the new literacy approach and whether students are grasping it or not. So formative assessment is when you're doing regular intervals of assessment. Summative assessment is the end of the year assessment, which is normally what people talk about when we say 90% of our students aren't reading on grade level. And so I just want to make sure people understand that differentiation. Also, the STAR test is not a normed test. And so it makes it more difficult and be able to understand the data for students and their learning and what they're doing in comparability to their peers. So I just want to be able to share that. We were using iReady already, and so it makes sense to use it as well. But I think it does make sense for the public and for the teachers to have more conversation and to understand, because you have to understand the why you're doing the assessing in order to get buy-in into the assessment. And I think we need to do a little bit more socializing with that, with our teachers as well as our public, so they know the meaningfulness of why we're doing it as we're trying to learn a whole new way of teaching reading. And so we'll have Ms. Collins, Natalie, come back and share a little bit more about the iReady assessment, give you a little bit more details about that, a little bit more about the STAR assessment, that and what it can provide to the committee, so that you can have a better understanding yourselves on the differences of these types of assessments.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Director Funds? Not right now. He's trying to win his side, the boys against the girls. I'm teasing.
But I do want to say to Mr. Fons, Director Fons, I also don't like standardized testing, and I've been very public about that in my positioning for many, many years. But the reason that I support what the academic team is trying to do is because we're all trying to learn something new. And I think we need to have more dips and calibration as we learn together.
Go ahead, Director.
I'm not at all opposed to standardized testing. I'm just opposed to the quantity of testing that's going on. It's excessive and it's expensive. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Any other committee members for comments or questions? Okay. Well, I did want to circle back to the caller around the textbook adoption, or what we're providing for the junior high school. Director Fons, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I could speak directly to that. I have questions for administration. Do we plan to adopt a district-wide Tier 1 curriculum for 9 through 12?
Administration.
Director Simpson, Chair Fons, members of the committee, Jennifer Mims Howe, Chief Academic Officer. We will follow the normal textbook adoption process when looking at the ELA materials for our high schools. So yes.
Is that going to happen this year?
For the
Did people read the letter from the high school teachers across the district? I mean, it's an urgent request, right? We don't have it. And we're talking about literacy across the board, and if we don't have a curriculum, then it's not happening.
correct.
In a systematic way. I'm sure it's happening in many, many classrooms, but is it happening in a systematic way across the district?
Administration.
Chair Simpson, Director Fons, the Milwaukee Public Schools will do a textbook adoption for our high school ELA in the same process that we do other textbook adoptions. And so we will follow that process, and that information will be brought to the board for review.
Okay. Director Fons? Do you have a follow-up, Director Fons? No, Director Benoit?
I would like, can you tell us when that's going to happen for ELA?
Administration?
The adoption for the for the 26-27 school year will be brought to the board this school year, which is 25-26. We'll be bringing it, correct. It will come this school year.
Thank you. Any follow-up? Okay, okay. Any other? Oh, yeah, go ahead, administration.
Ms. Mims, that means that teachers then were still using previous curricular materials that were adopted at this time? until there's a new adoption? They should use whatever was previously adopted and available?
So I can explain a little bit of some of the history. So in the 24-25 school year, our 11th and 12th graders, they piloted a curriculum called from SAVIS. So previously, we had been using materials from the 2006 and 2008 school year. So what we did was the company afforded us professional development for all of our high school ELA teachers in the spring of 25. In preparation for this school year and to receiving the piloted materials, what we did was with the trained people who were trained, we wrote pacing guides waiting for the materials to arrive. In lieu of not having all the materials in the buildings on time, we sent a communication to all the high school ELA teachers saying that we would use Common Lit 360, which was aligned to the same standards that Milwaukee Public School would be using with the SAVIS piloted materials. As of last week, many schools had received the actual textbooks. We do have it digitally. So what we are doing is we are using many of the piloted materials this school year in anticipation for an adoption that will come in the next school year.
Okay, thank you. Director Fons?
I think the concern was that, I don't know if I turned that off. I think the concern was that this was a new adoption and then there's no training for that new adoption. So we need to be more proactive in, we can't show up with a curriculum a day before the school year starts and say, hey, we're going to do this now, and people aren't trained for it, it's not going to work. So I think more foresight with a new adoption is needed. And that's our job too, right, as a committee.
Administration?
Director Simpson, Director Fons, Jennifer Mims Howe, Chief Academic Officer. I want to be clear, this was not a textbook adoption. We were piloting SAVIS, and when materials didn't arrive, we were working on the Plan B the entire time. So there was information sent out with places, with information where people were asked to click on links. Things were aligned to the curriculum. There were activities. There were books that they could use. We are going to follow, like I said, the proper textbook adoption. This was with SAVIS, a particular company. This was a continuation of what we were piloting in the previous year. So I want to make it clear we did not take a textbook adoption without board approval from any company for any ELA materials for our 9th through 12th grade graders.
Any follow-up, Director Fons?
To read from the teachers who wrote the letter to the board and to the administration, all MPS high school English teachers were told the day before students arrived that they should use a new unadopted curriculum. We were provided no training in this curriculum, no time to plan for implementation of this curriculum, or a common course plan or curriculum guide of any sort beyond do this unit first. So there's a disconnect between what teachers are being told to do and the way that we're operating. So those are the frontline people. They know. And we talk about things here, and then there's a different reality within the classroom. So these are people across the district, and I could look over, we could talk about all the teachers in the high schools here. These are veteran teachers. These are not people who are crying in the woods, right? These are people who are concerned about implementing a literacy curriculum, and that's what we're supposed to be doing this year. And there hasn't been the planning that is needed. Again, that's our responsibility also as a board. I'm not just blaming, but we need to have more foresight in these kinds of things. Otherwise, people are just teaching whatever they want. Mm-hmm. They're just going to do different things because they are used to certain things. If they're not trained in certain things, they're not just going to adopt something new because they're told to by an email.
Administration?
Director Simpson and Director Fons, why don't we meet with the teachers and come back and report back later a little bit more about what they're experiencing and make sure that we have good understanding of their concerns, and then we'll make sure that we bring it back.
Okay, thank you. We would appreciate that. Any other on this side checking in? You're good, okay. I just did want to circle back to also the pacing guides, because I know that was an issue that was raised, and I've heard that myself. This is more, I think, separate from that issue, looking more at that elementary level. Just, I guess, if you could tell us a little bit about the development of these pacing guides and when staff can expect to see more detailed information.
Director Simpson, members of the board, thank you so much for the question. We did have a slide for that too. So we have connected around these things a couple times. This year, in order to ensure that we are leveraging and creating the best opportunities for students to engage in reading and writing, we moved away from the historical 90-minute reading block into an integrated reading and writing block, like a literacy block. And as you can see in the image, this is, if we're thinking about the simple view of reading, the science of reading, this will squarely put us in the language comprehension component. It makes sense for the human brain to be able to lever really powerful conversations. We talked about the essential questions, for example, and using all of the linguistic schema that we're building and all the skills that we have developed for reading in support of our writing. It helps us in building pragmatics. It just is better for the brain. We can accelerate better. That was one of the two smallest changes that we could think of for the greatest impact into classrooms. The second shift was thinking about the historical 60 minutes for writing instruction and securing that time for the explicit teaching of word recognition, kindergarten to third grade, and word study beyond third grade. We had a conversation about how some of our students are in need of explicit teaching of word recognition beyond third grade, and that the standards exist only up to that grade level. So we needed to be able to secure that time. That is squarely puts us in the word recognition component side of the house. In order to be able to support our teams into this shift, we have a little bit of a new look. So I am going to click here, and it's going. So all of our instructional guidance are in this document from kindergarten through 12th grade. So if I click, for example, in third grade, I want to do this quickly because I can talk about this for 3 hours. We're using Google Docs, so it's very important. One of the things that we noticed, confusion, was that universally we are not used to using Google Docs. So sometimes the document was closed and staff felt that this was the only page that was connected to it. But in fact, if you go back to the burger, you can see how all the guidance is connected here. So in the first page, we have the introduction. Because this idea of reading and writing in a way that is integrating is new for us as an organization, and we're going to go slow to go fast, we put together a pacing guide that is color coordinated so our teams would know when it is that we are explicitly leading whole group instruction for reading versus the times that we're leading whole group instruction for writing. Because we don't want to play tricks on people. We want it to be very, very explicit. So for every week on instruction, you can see, and we have the weeks by date, we have named that, okay? And we can see how we have a fourth week when we're engaging in a performance task, so we can elevate the writing that the kiddos are doing. We have an opportunity for that performance task for students to engage on, and we were talking about assessments a few minutes ago, so this idea of the end of the unit assessments is here. Once again, because clarity is loving, because this is we are reimagining together the way in which we're delivering instruction. Within the, we're not satisfied with just having the pacing guide. We also had a header for readings in which we're explaining our strategy in relationship to unpacking text, because now we are going to integrate reading and writing. The text provides us, for example, in third grade, there are 7 texts. So we say we're only going to read 3 texts. We're going to go deeply into this text. And we made a decision as an academic team that these are the texts that we're going to read because they are the best texts to answer the essential question and because they're the best texts for us to be able to get at the standard. So in this first page, we explain what is the strategy, and we call that like the 3 reads. The first time that we read a text, we're going to read the whole text. We're going to do a brisk walk. The second time, we're going to do a close read. We're going to attend to the primary standard that we identified. We're going to look at a portion of the text, a chunk. And the third read is also a close read on a section of the text. But yet, we were not satisfied. We're like, that's not good enough. Our teachers require more support from us because this is new. So for each week of instruction, for every text that we're engaging in every week, we have spelled out what is the standard, and we're moving through, we're providing supports in elementary to say, like, this is the way in which you can move into the first read, the second read, and the third read. And we do that for each of the weeks. If you're in bilingual programs, the guidance is in the same document, so you have lecturas, and you have Semana 1, Semana 2, and Semana 3, when you can find it. We are attending to writing in a way that is different. During Welcome Back, I had the great pleasure and the opportunity of being in front of our teachers, sometimes in person, sometimes kind of televised, but the first time I was being televised for work. And we spoke about how important it is for us to ensure that all of our students across the board have access to universal opportunities so we can create assurances. I believe that I spoke last time, Salud, about the importance of not only word recognition, but I think that we spoke about sentences. Like sentences are really, really important for reading comprehension. So during Unit 1, for example, we're across the board slowing down to ensure that full sentences is the game. So you can see here how, because we're integrating reading and writing, we are not only naming that we're working to ensure that all of our third graders, in this case, can write full sentences, understand what is a full sentence, but how we say that those lessons are connected to the reading that the kiddos are doing. That idea of integration is really important. And then similarly that with reading, then if you go by week, you're going to be able to find the lessons for writing here. And in bilingual programs, you can go to Escritura. Escritura, Semana 1, 2, y 3. Then we have the performance task. We identify what are the days when the performance task is going to take place. Remember that in this unit, we have been engaging in reading and writing in response to the essential question. We have the lessons here for the performance task. And we have the resources here. We're concentrating now at the genre-specific paragraph for third grade. So these are the resources. So all of those are for the 90 minutes of integrated reading and writing. Now we also have 60 minutes for word recognition. So for third grade, on the cover page, we have a little bit of an explanation. We have a screenshot, play-by-play, so staff can find the resources. We have an overview of the video, and then we have the pacing guide. These are the skills that for word recognition we're going to be attending to. So our pacing guides from kindergarten to 6th grade look really similar for 9th through 12. I don't know if I have a minute to go through 9th grade, if that is too much. Would that be?
Great. Yep, I'm getting a yes from the board.
So for 9th, yes. So similarly, we're using a Google Doc that has a burger. The number of tabs is different, but you can see here for 9th and 10th grade, they look similar. We have an access entry point as to where to find the resources on Clever. For 9th and 10th grade, we're happy to say that we have released the guidance for the entire semester. So you can see here that there are 2 units for 9th grade. We know the days of instruction, and we are naming what are the standards that we're leading. We're also saying that the first unit is the title of it is Survivor, and then we go through the essential question. The unit goes very similarly to the level of nuance and specificity they use for elementary. Same thing for the second one. And we have a note here, as we spoke last time, that for word recognition for adolescents, we're not looking for a full-blown scale. We're looking about 12 or 15 lessons. So we're naming here that in the month of October, once we have connected back with you, we have a plan to release these few lessons that can be delivered as part of the integrated block, because no child will be harmed by going over the doubling rule, for example. Like, that is something that all of us need. That is, so 9th and 10th grade look like that. For 11th and or 12th grade, we have provided guidance on a Greenlit resource that is an open source resource that is standards aligned. So because it is a resource that we don't know at this point if it's universally known, we have a pathway for staff to be able to create a login account, all the information with the next steps, an overview of the unit, and supports. So it's a new look. It's a new way of doing the work. We're looking forward to October 8th. That is our instructional opportunity to be able to universally engage with it. But we're grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do committee members have questions or comments about that? Or anything else related to information or questions we've gotten tonight? Director Herndon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is simply, how do we address students between 9th and 12th grade that enter the district with limited reading abilities? How do they fit into this?
Administration?
Director Herndon, members of the board, thank you for that question. Our strategy must always be, especially with adolescents, a strategy based on acceleration and no remediation. Research and practice is supporting us in a stance of gap closing skills where adolescents are simultaneously having access to grade level rigor, while at the same time having an opportunity to have explicit instruction for high utility skills that are required for them to be able to get there. So the first thing that we need to be absolutely certain is that regardless of current skills, students are receiving daily instruction with age-appropriate peers, because that is the guarantee for age appropriateness. And at the same time, coming full circle to the conversation about the assessments, do we have universal opportunities for us to engage in universal screeners and then diagnostic tools, so then we can intelligently identify what are the high leverage skills that are needed for students to then be able to, as quickly as possible, rise up to grade level skills.
Any follow-up, Director Herndon? Okay, thank you. Yeah, so, all right, I don't see any other comments or questions at this time, and I'm just going to go back to Office of Board Governance to make sure we know, like, sort of what we want as follow-ups. So it sounded like, you know, assessment, curriculum. I'm not sure if I know I'm missing something. I'm trying to look back at my notes.
Director
too.
Sampson, I think I
Oh, yeah,
have
go ahead.
like assessment, coming back with Natalie Collins on
Yeah.
assessment, specifically looking at the STAR and the iReady and the differences of those two assessments and how they're going to be integrated with the new literacy plan. And then the number of minutes and hours that we would be providing on the formative side of the assessments. And then I think we said we would also come back with meeting with the teachers and understanding from the teacher's perspective and how they're experiencing the literacy planning for this year. I know October 8th is the time when we're going to be able to meet with the high school teachers in depth, but I think we'll try to connect with them as soon as possible and then figure out that, and then also coming back with the data on the curriculum review cycle and when those curriculum review, the process and how that's going to be handled and in what time frame.
Okay.
That's what I put down on my notes.
Thank you.
Very good. I'll just add a one-pager on the assessments I heard also, and then the library report.
Yes, please, yes. Thank you so much for capturing that. Okay, All right, I think that is it for questions and comments from the board. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, that was the last item on this meeting's agenda.
Thank you so much. There being no further business before the committee, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for the questions and comments.